In the long run, it's not just how much money you make that'll determine your future prosperity, it's how much of that money you put to work by saving it and investing it wisely. Peter Lynch. These wise words from legendary investor Peter Lynch encapsulate a fundamental truth about financial success. It's not just about earning money, it's about making your money work for you. But is $10,000 enough to set this financial journey in motion? Can you really turn this sum into a source of steady income? In this video, we will show you a rich selection of stocks from Dividend Kings to Reits that have some of the highest dividend yields in the market. We'll walk you and John through the numbers, how much money you can make in dividends with a $10,000 investment, whether it's in the short term, 1 to 10 years from now, or for the long haul, like 20 to 30 years until retirement. We will show you stocks that can pay you $3,000 per month and stocks that can pay over $10,000 per month. In the end, we'll show you how to combine all these stocks to have a reasonable short-term monthly income and over $20,000 per month income in the long run. Let's get into the picks of the year arranged from modest dividend growth rate to some of the highest dividend growth rate stocks. Starting at number 6, we have Parker Hannifin. Known by the ticker symbol PH, this Dividend King has been paying quarterly dividends for a long time, since March 16, 1973. That's 50 years straight. Right now, they're paying a dividend yield of 1.5%. It might not look like much, but in the long run, you have to take into account the stock appreciation and dividend appreciation that comes with it. To accurately see how much this stock can pay you dividends in the long run, you have to see how much it has grown its value and dividends over the past 10 years. For this, we need to look into the company's compounded annual dividend growth rate, which in the case of PH is 12.44%. This means in the last 10 years, on average, they have increased the dividend by 12.44% every year, and this growth includes both your investment value appreciation and the dividend that comes with it. Based on this, if John invests $10,000 today, after the end of the first year with reinvestment, since this stock pays quarterly dividends, his initial investment will pay him an annual dividend of $1,303. In 5 years, the same investment will pay him a dividend of $2,127. In 10 years, the dividends will grow to $3,925. In the long term, after 20 years, the same initial investment will pay him an annual dividend of $13,362, roughly $1,114 per month. Give it 10 years more, and in 30 years, John's initial $10,000 will be worth $394,543, paying him an annual dividend of $45,490 or roughly $3,791 per month. The reason behind this dividend growth is that 30 years from now, the stock will be valued at higher than what it is now, which ultimately translates to higher dividends per share. And that's why we take CAGR for long-term investments, to take both capital appreciation and dividends into account. Next up, at number 5, we have Hormel Foods. Known by the ticker symbol HRL, this Dividend King Hormel Foods Corporation has been sharing its profits with its shareholders since February 15, 1973. Currently, they offer a dividend rate of 2.84%, which is fairly good for its sector. But most importantly, they have a 10-year dividend growth rate of 12.64%. So if John puts $10,000 into this investment today and lets it grow with reinvested dividends, which come in every quarter, after 1 year his initial investment will bring in $1,325 in dividends annually. In 5 years, that dividend grows to $2,180 annually, and after 10 years, he'll be looking at $4,061 in dividends each year. Now let's talk about long-term gains. After 20 years, his initial $10,000 investment will pay $14,097 in dividends annually, roughly $1,174 per month. Give it another 10 years, and in 30 years, John's initial investment of $10,000 will grow to $418,177, paying an annual dividend of $48,932, which is about $4,077 per month. To top it off, when it comes to the price of their stock and how much they pay in dividends, it's not too expensive. In fact, they're considered a good value for your money. Plus, they're financially strong, which means they can keep giving out dividends without any trouble. Next up, we have Illinois Tool Works. Known by the ticker symbol ITW, this stock has been increasing dividends for 53 years in a row. Currently, they have a dividend yield of 2.37%, but in the last 10 years, they've increased their dividends by 13.17%, also known as CAGR. Considering they can maintain this dividend growth, which they've been doing for 53 years, if John invests $10,000 into this quarterly paying dividend stock today and lets it roll with reinvested dividends, his $10,000 investment will start paying out $1,383 per year after the first year. After 5 years, the dividends will grow to $2,323 annually. And in 10 years from now, it'll almost double to $4,441 per year. Now, in the long haul, in 20 years, his initial $10,000 will pay out an annual dividend of $16,226, or roughly $1,352 per month. Go 10 more, and at the 30-year mark, that initial $10,000 will balloon to $487,814, paying an annual dividend of $59,286 per year, or about $4,940 per month. The company thrives by maximizing profits across 7 sectors, including automotive and construction. They prioritize efficiency and consistent dividend growth, providing stability in market fluctuations. To top it off, they've reduced their share count by over half in 20 years. This is good news for long-term investors because fewer shares means higher earnings per share, making your investment even better. Next, we have Nordson. Known by the ticker symbol NDSN, this stock has been sharing profits with its shareholders since March 14, 1980, and more importantly, they've been consecutively increasing dividends for over 25 years straight. In fact, last year alone, they increased their dividends by 27.45%. Over the long run, their 10-year dividend growth rate has been hovering around 15.36%. Based on this, if John invests $10,000 today in a stock that pays quarterly dividends, his initial investment will start paying him an annual dividend of $1,627 after 1 year. In 5 years, the dividends will grow to $2,973 per year, and in 10 years, it'll more than double to $6,316 per year. Fast forward to 20 years from now, and John's initial investment of $10,000 will be worth $203,786, bringing in $28,513 in dividends annually, around $2,376 per month. After 30 years, that $10,000 with reinvesting dividends and appreciation will turn into $919,944, paying him an annual dividend of $128,714, which is roughly $10,726 per month, also known as the Warren Buffett Coca-Cola effect. The reason they've been doing so well is because they have both an individual and industrial customer base. Even better, Nordson has a strong financial foundation. They make enough money to cover their dividends easily. So far, we've seen stocks that perform well when you give it time to grow, but can you secure the same gain from the get-go? The answer to this is the high dividend yield ETFs. Now we move on to the slightly risky approach to secure short-term gains using high dividend ETFs. At number 2, we have Crane Shares China Internet and Covered Call Strategy ETF. Known by the ticker symbol CLIP, KLIP, this ETF offers an exceptionally high dividend yield of 56%. ETFs usually don't have a stable dividend yield year over year, so why did it make it to this list? Remember, we're targeting both short-term gains and long-term consistent dividend yield, something we'll show in the end using a portfolio of these dividend stocks and ETFs. Okay, back to Clip. With a current dividend yield of 56%, if John invested $10,000 in this ETF after 1 year, he would earn a dividend income of $5,600 per year from the very first year. Reinvesting that dividend, and if Clip maintains the same dividend yield of 56%, John's new investment of $15,600 will pay him an annual dividend of $8,736. And in the third year, dividend yield will be $13,628 per year, or roughly $1,135 per month. After that, the ETF is more likely to average out around 18 to 20% dividend yield, so it cannot be counted on for the long run, but it does solve the short-term problem and helps the portfolio, something we'll show you in the end. This ETF focuses on China's internet sector. The combination of dividends and potential income from options can offer a good return over the short term. Additionally, the focus on China's dynamic internet sector adds an element of growth potential which can be attractive for investors looking to capitalize on emerging trends in technology. Next up, the last pick of the year for John is Yield Max TSLA Option Income Strategy ETF. Known by the ticker symbol TSLY, this ETF has been the talk of Wall Street with a current dividend yield of 70.17%. Now, before showing the return on investment, first, let's see how this ETF works and why it has such an astoundingly high dividend yield. Here's how it works. This ETF primarily focuses on options related to Tesla, a well-known electric vehicle and clean energy company. Their strategy involves selling covered call options on Tesla shares. When they sell a covered call option, they receive a premium from the buyer, and in exchange, the buyer gains the right to purchase Tesla shares at a predetermined price. This can provide an additional income stream for TSLY beyond traditional dividends, hence the reason for their current dividend yield of 70.17%. Based on this, if John invested $10,000 in this ETF, he'd earn an annual dividend of $7,017 from year one. Reinvesting that, and with the same dividend yield of 70.17% next year, his new $17,017 investment would pay $11,940 in annual dividends. And in the third year, dividend yield will be $20,319 per year, or roughly $1,693 per month. However, beyond that, the ETF might settle at 20 to 25% yield. It's not a long-term bet, but it's a handy short-term solution that can also give his portfolio a boost, as we'll see later in the video. TSLY is a newer ETF with a solid dividend yield, but its payouts can fluctuate due to its option strategy and market conditions, unlike traditional dividend stocks or ETFs. So what's the solution in this case? How can you reap the benefit of TSLY and still have a consistent dividend for the long term? For this, you can make a portfolio of all the safest Dividend Kings and the short-term risky ETFs. For example, we know Parker Hannifin has a 10-year dividend growth rate of 12.44%. Hormel Foods has 12.64%. Illinois Toolworks with 13.17%, Nordson with 15.38%, Clip with a current dividend yield of 56% but is likely to average out around 18%, and TSLY with 70.17%, likely to average around 20%. If you add all these up and divide by 6, which is the number of stocks we hold in our portfolio, we get an average dividend yield of 29.9% in the short run and 15.26% in the long run. Based on this, if John invests $10,000 today in this portfolio, in the short run with 29.9%, after 1 year, John can earn $2,990 in annual dividends. And with reinvestment, in the second year, this dividend will grow to $4,459. In the third year, the dividend amount will be close to $5,950 per year. In 5, the same investment will grow to $42,281, paying him an annual dividend of $10,592 or $883 per month. After that, as we enter into the long term, John's new portfolio return will average out to 15.26%. Giving 5 more years to his ending balance of $42,281, which would be 10 years down the road for the portfolio, his investment will be worth $89,402, paying him an annual dividend of $12,435. In 20 years, his initial investment will grow to $399,716, paying an annual dividend of $55,595 or $4,633 per month. Go 10 more, and at the 30-year mark, that investment value will quadruple to $1,787,130, paying an annual dividend of $248,565 per year, or about $20,713 per month. This means combining short-term profitable ETFs with long-term dividend stocks has benefited both in the short term and also outperformed the individual stocks in the long term. A win-win situation. This video talked about the 6 stocks and ETFs that are ideal for both short and long-term consistent income. But you may want to follow the big guns like Kevin O'Leary to do the heavy lifting of research for you. For this, watch our video on the top 6 dividend stocks in Kevin O'Leary's portfolio.